I'm Louisa Barton with the Horse Talk Show here at Copperline Farm in Citra, just outside of Ocala, the horse capital of the world. Got a couple of legends here with us. Maynard, of course, well known in eventing, has accomplished a great deal, as well as an author of In the Middle of the Horseman, an absolutely incredible book, actually a journey through his life, trials and tribulations, ups and downs. Absolutely wonderful book for anybody, horse person or not. And Sinead, of course, has had an incredible eventing career, medalist, a great deal of accomplishments, second at Burley, huge things in her career. I'm going to actually pass it over to Sinead first and let her tell us a little bit about what she's accomplished. Tell us a little bit about your career and some of the real obviously there's a lot, it's a big list, but the ones that affected you the most, the big ones that you were really in your heart to accomplish.
For sure. Well, I had a really wonderful horse. He's retired now, named Maynard de Carneville. And I had a great kind of 10-year run with him. And I would say the first big standout was my first Rolex Kentucky. And it was my first attempt at the level. And so you just really have no idea. I mean, I knew it was an awesome horse, but it was a surreal weekend, and we ended up finishing top place American and third place behind Mary King, had a 1-2. So that was amazing. And I got to compete at Kentucky 3 or 4 more times. And I think every time in the top 10 with that horse. And also was fortunate enough to be first alternate for the London Olympics, which it's so close, but so far away. But that year, Team USA sent all the riders and the alternates to London for the summer. So it was a really awesome time. There was a lot of team camaraderie. We were there for 3 months. And I unfortunately had to fly home the week of our competition in the Olympics because I stayed on to compete at Burley that fall. But it was just a really awesome time to be in England when all that's going on, not only for your own sport, but you're following every other sport and it's just happening, right where you are. So that was amazing. And actually riding for the country in Normandy in 2014 for the World Championships was pretty awesome. So that we went to Chantilly and we were there training for 3 weeks and then got to go to the WEG. So that was amazing. So those competitions really would be the highlights of what I've gotten to do so far.
When you were growing up and you started to get into eventing and love it, did you ever imagine you'd end up at the absolute top like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't in it for the beer. Yeah, I mean, I've never questioned what I wanted to do. I mean, I certainly was always hopeful that I'd get to that level. That was always my drive and my goal, and positioned myself around people that had accomplished that. I got to go my parents, again, were really like yes people, and so I started my working student career at 15 and went to Virginia and worked for a Canadian Olympian, and then moved over to David and Karen, and then I went to Europe and worked. We didn't have a lot of finances, but that was fine. You actually learn a lot more in the barn working under these people, and you learn about their farriers and their vets and their programs and their fitness and their nutritional programs, which, for us here at Copperline, we really do try and have a very well-rounded program. So it's kind of, you surround yourself with those people and align your goals, and that was definitely something I had always hoped for.
And since you're talking about aligning yourself with people, you mentioned David and Karen. Tell us about your mentors and people that you followed throughout your career that you've learned a lot from. You can say Tick if you want.
So I feel really fortunate that I ended up moving to Middleburg, Virginia, and that is just like a real hub, just like Ocala is now. Middleburg, Unionville, Ocala all have a very strong network of high performers. And so when I got introduced to David and Karen O'Connor, I was like, oh my God. David was fresh off his gold medal win, and it was just, they were so inspiring, and they were people that introduced both Tick and I really to a lot of the horsemanship that, when I first got there, Pat Pirelli was there, and it was kind of this new kind of thing that was a different way for me to look at horses and look at high performance sport. So that was very inspiring to see that you could have all of it there, that, you could go and win gold medals and be in team competitions and and really genuinely at the top of your priority have the welfare of the horse and the relationship. And then I went to England and worked for William Fox Pitt, and that was an amazing experience because actually he at the time wasn't teaching that much. Like I think I got like 2 lessons from him, but I just rode with him all the time, and he's such a natural horseman. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then in the thread between all of the people that I've gotten to, they're just great people. Like William and his wife Alice are just like salt of the earth, like wonderful people, and David and Karen are the same. And since then, moving here, I've worked a lot with Leslie Law, and Tick is, I mean, even though he's sitting here, I'll say this, he is incredibly inspiring. I mean, I think we work a lot together, and we come at things from a different angle a lot of the times, but it all meets at the same place. And so I think we're both students of the horse, and so it's fun to kind of I'll be thinking about something and I'll just talk his ear off for a second about something I just learned, and every day I'm like, how have I ridden before I knew this? And so yeah, I think it's there's a lot of people that have inspired me.
It's funny that you said that, what you said about we didn't really have that. When we were growing up, you were just supposed to get on the horse and make it do what it was supposed to do. And if it was a naughty pony or a naughty horse, you just had to try and get through it and win. Yeah. But we really didn't have access to, those methods or even those ideas that you needed to think like a horse or understand the horse and get the horse to trust you and work. You just kind of had to get on and do it. And don't you think that's made such a huge difference to horse sport all around?
Absolutely. Well, it gives you so much more knowledge, and knowledge is power. And when you can get yourself educated on the whys of things, then you're less emotional about it and more thoughtful. And in that way, a horse can learn to trust you a whole lot more because you're consistent. You're not reactive, and that's what horses really want. Is they want predictability. They want comfort. They want, you to be that person for them. And if you're emotionally reactive because you're not sure why they're doing things, it puts that relationship in a pretty vulnerable place. And yeah, I mean, a lot of times you can get it done, but I think at that level to be great, you've got to have both sides of it. You have to have the relationship and the technique and the tools, to be able to get it all done.
That's true. Now, for people who you of course had some of the best that you were fortunate enough, as you said, you kind of worked your way up, you did all the work, even if you didn't necessarily do all the lessons, you got to emulate them and watch them and be around them. What is a really good tip for up and coming eventers who want to do well? Maybe they don't have access to those people. What's one little bit of advice you might give them?
Well, I think now, I mean, honestly, with the online content is huge. And that wasn't around when I was, young. And I mean, now there's virtual training, everything. I mean, I'm sitting at home watching Noelle Floyd. And I mean, my new inspirational person is Ian Miller. I mean, I'm just like, Tick, and did you know he did this and he does this and this thing? And I'm out there trying all these things on my horses. So I think there's a lot of access to knowledge online, a lot of content. And I think most horse people and in a barn, like if you just, I think if you can get yourself around people that you emulate, however you can do that, whether it's for 2 weeks, you spend 2 weeks and you go work for someone for 2 weeks, or you just, Tick, he's wrote about it in his book, kind of went and hung out at barns until they he's obviously good at stalking. Until they had to hire him, but I think a good attitude and, good attitude and being willing to help anyone at any time. I think that just goes ways in spades.
It's incredible. Here at Copperline Farm with Sinead and Tick, he's a good stalker. Apparently he stalked the right lady for long enough, got her to agree. Yes. And here they are at Copperline Farm in Citra, Florida. Beautiful place to be. Our next segment will be with Tick, and he's going to tell us about his accomplishments and a little bit about his mentors. I'm Louisa Barton for the Horse Talk Show.